Palestinian groups welcomed the International Criminal Court's decision to open a formal investigation into alleged war crimes in the Palestinian territories, while Israel called the move anti-Semitic. The International Criminal Court's inquiry is expected to investigate alleged war crimes committed by both Israelis and Palestinians. The decision comes after the court ruled on the 5th of February that it has jurisdiction in the case, a move which prompted swift rejection from both Washington and Jerusalem. The Palestinian Authority has welcomed the ruling, calling it an important decision which will deter Israel from committing further crimes.
هذا القرار مهم جدا في سياق أن هناك فعلا عدالة ستفرض على من يقوم بالجرائم ضد الشعب الفلسطيني أو أي جرائم في العالم، وبالتالي ما قام به الاحتلال من جرائم متواصلة كان يعتقد أنه معفي من مغبة مساءلته أمام هذه الجرائم. اليوم هناك وضع حد لذلك، قطع الطريق على الاحتلال لمواصلة هذه الجرائم، وأنا بعتقد الاحتلال سيفكر كثيرا في عملية كيفية مواجهة ما تقوم به المحكمة.
But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the International Criminal Court's decision was anti-Semitic.
נמצאת תחת התקפה הערב. בית הדין הבינלאומי המוטה בהאג קיבל החלטה שהיא תמצית האנטישמיות ותמצית הצביעות. הוא קבע שחיילינו הגיבורים והמוסריים שנלחמים נגד הטרוריסטים האכזריים ביותר עלי האדמות, דווקא הם פושעי מלחמה. הוא קבע שכשאנחנו בונים בית בבירתנו הנצחית ירושלים, זה פשע מלחמה. בית הדין שהוקם כדי למנוע הישנות של הזוועות שהנאצים חוללו נגד העם היהודי, פונה עכשיו נגד מדינתו של העם היהודי. הוא כמובן לא אומר מילה נגד איראן וסוריה ומשטרי רודנות אחרים שמחוללים פשעי מלחמה אמיתיים, חדשות ובקרים. במשך שנים פעלנו רבות מול מנהיגים ומול ממשלות נגד הכוונה הזאת. אבל כשבית הדין מוטה מראש נגד מדינת ישראל, יש רק דבר אחד שנשאר לעשות.
Israel is not a member of the court and rejects its jurisdiction, a position backed by Israel's ally, the United States of America. The US has reacted to the inquiry, saying it was disappointed by this investigation.
We firmly oppose and are disappointed by the ICC prosecutor's announcement of an investigation into the Palestinian situation. We will continue to uphold our strong commitment to Israel and its security, including by opposing actions that seek to target Israel unfairly.
The probe is expected to cover the 2014 Gaza war, the 2018 Gaza border clashes and Israeli settlement building in the West Bank. The inquiry will also look at whether rocket fire by Hamas and other groups from Gaza amounts to war crimes. The ICC is an international court of last resort and is only empowered to examine cases when complaints are submitted by governments. The Palestinians joined the court in 2015 and have pushed for an investigation for a long time. The announcement follows a 2019 decision that there was a reasonable basis for a war crimes probe. Joining us on this broadcast is political commentator Dr. Hadas Cohen, who's joining us live from Israel. Doctor, thank you so much for giving us your time. Welcome to WION. Now, we've heard just what the Israeli Prime Minister has said, Benjamin Netanyahu. He says that the state of Israel is under attack. He says that the International Court is biased, and he's called this anti-Jewish. Why is this so?
Well, we have to remember that the International Court has focused until recently against African countries, and it has been critiqued for doing that. And this is one of the first times that it's actually going against or trying to prosecute a country that is outside of Africa. In the past, they tried to prosecute the U.S., or they were considering prosecuting the U.S. against their war crimes, alleged war crimes in Afghanistan, and prosecutor Bensouda lost her visa to the United States. So while we are right now in an election year, or should I say another election, and we've had we're going to have 4 in the past 2 years, and this clearly serves Netanyahu's, let's just say, not agenda, but rather a way of showing that the world is against us, a certain point of view. I think that he does have a point if we're trying to see how many non-African countries were actually persecuted by the ICC. In that sense, he might have a point, yes.
Right, but 2014 has been chosen as the date when the investigation, since 2014, the actions will be investigated. And there was a war in 2014 in which 2,200 Palestinians lost their lives, nearly 1,500 civilians lost their lives. There were losses on the Israeli side as well. 67 soldiers died in that conflict. Doesn't that need an international investigation?
I'm not saying that this does or does not need international investigation. I'm just wondering how many people died in Iraq following the U.S. invasion to Iraq, and has the ICC ever considered prosecuting that? Now, I'm not coming here to defend or go against any decision of the ICC. I'm just trying to put it in proportion vis-a-vis other decisions that they have or have not made. So I think that it's interesting also to look at the timing of publishing this decision, which was after Biden's elections to the United States presidency. The considerations have been going on for the past few years, 5 years, as you stated, but during the Trump administration, they did not come forth with this decision. So I think there are a lot of political considerations happening here, and perhaps if the ICC would like to prosecute another country outside of Africa, perhaps Israel and Hamas, which is also being considered here to be prosecuted, are easy targets. I'm not sure it's something that has to do against Jews, but it's the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is on a lot of media channels. It's been covered a lot. Everyone has an opinion about it. It's one of these go-to conflicts. So I think it's an easy way.
Right. I think the Israeli Prime Minister also mentioned that there are several dictators and authoritarian governments in the world which have not been probed by the ICC. Well, it remains to be seen if the ICC will open a probe into those. But let's just focus on the Israel-Palestinian conflict. You mentioned Joe Biden. America has questioned the ICC decision to open a probe. How far will this American support help Israel in this investigation? As far as the global support as well, how much global support do you think Israel has as far as this ICC probe is concerned?
Well, so that is indeed a very good question that remains to be seen. I believe that out of the global possible allies that Israel will have, the U.S. will be probably the strongest one, just because that it has been supportive of Israel throughout, no matter which government that is in the U.S., whether Republican or Democratic, which administration. So in that sense, we're not going to see the U.S. Support dwindling right now. And not to mention that the United States has its own interest in putting the ICC or just just not supporting the ICC for fear that it might come back and prosecute the U.S. itself. And I think that if I may say one thing, it's very easy to say, oh, let's go against dictators. Let's look at democratic countries that are involved in possible war crimes. That strong democratic countries are not the outcasts, right? I think that would be a much more brave kind of attempt on behalf of the ICC.
Right. Dr. Hadas Cohen, thank you so much for joining us from Israel. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.